Hello, hello. All right, guys. Um, so this is also going to be a quick and a brief one. Um, so this is volatility 25, and then I'm going to show you what I'm actually also seeing on the chart. Okay. So you could see that I have a lot of sorry, but you could see a lot of scattered orders on the chart. Um, we will look at that later, but let's look at what actually is transpiring on the chart. Remember some time ago I showed you this area where we could see, okay, let's go down to our weekly time frame first and foremost. We are on the weekly time frame. Price was bearish, and then we saw this movement to this direction, towards this side. The price came towards this direction and then towards this side. you know um, we had a couple of range in here, consolidation in here before the manipulation, before price rallied up above this high. Okay, so, and then came down and then still rallied up again. What are we expecting to see inside this area? Let me zoom out for you to see. So inside this small consolidation, we saw the price traded into the main threshold of this fair value gap resting in here. Okay, after it traded above this, it left a fair value gap in here to rally above this high. So this fair value gap was traded back into the main threshold of it. Price acted as though it was rejecting to the upside, and then ultimately broke down to completely trade and close in on the fair value gap fully. Okay, at this point, so price rallied up and then rallied down again. All this while we still have all this price action inside this particular price range, inside this particular prices range. Okay, so all these price actions are inside this particular price range. Okay, now what happened and what do we see price doing? Okay, so when I scroll down a little, you could see that there's this fair value gap resting in here that price can necessarily delve into and then sweep the fair value gap resting in here, but in as much as price has swept a high, has already taken down a high in here. Okay, I'm expecting it to as it took this high in here, I'm expecting it to close in on the fair value gaps in here as well. But before it does that, it has a lot of price action happening in here before it's probably may want to delve deeper and then closing on the fair value gap resting below this point. This will take us down to our daily time frame. Now on the daily time frame, you remember, those of you on my Telegram page, I posted on the page about volatility 25, and I showed you a price area that I'm expecting price to reach out to, which was this particular area where I placed this trade. Okay, I think I posted on my channel, on my Telegram page, that I'm expecting price to come to this level, 2154.9399. all right, and funny enough, price rallied and almost getting closer to that level, and then we saw the bounce back into this area, and then we see all this form of consolidation now happening. Okay, now prior to the move downwards to close in fully on the fair value gap in here, this particular fair value gap, which was a weekly, and then it still overlaps with the daily fair value gap, was this form of consolidation. Okay, so it was this consolidation. What happened with the consolidation is, first of all, there was a manipulation to the upside, and then it did a distribution to the downside, and then price had to rally back to sweep all the liquidity pool resting within the internal liquidity. So price had to sweep the low. As it rallied down here, it took down all the sell side liquidity resting below this point, and then it as it took the sell side liquidity resting below this point, and then it rallied down, closing fully on the weekly fair value gap before ultimately rallying back to also closing on the fair value gap, resting within and taking down all the short-term highs on the smaller time frame, resting inside this area. Okay, so when you go down to your smaller time frame, you could see that there are a lot of you could see that there are some short-term high. This is a 4 hour, but if you go to the 1 hour time frame and all that, you see all that I'm talking about. Okay, so price closed in on the fair value gap and as well as the short-term lows or the short-term highs, sorry, on the smaller time frames. Okay, and then price had to reverse into this area, and then we could see price, we don't know what price is doing here, still accumulating more orders inside this area. What can price necessarily do before we see possibly price coming down to sweep this fair value gap, resting in here as well as in here? um, this brings me down to this particular time frame, the 4 hour time frame, for us to re-examine the whole market well here on the 4 hour time frame. I think I get a good picture when I look at the 4 hour time frame. On the 4 hour time frame, we saw a bit of consolidation in here. Okay, price accumulated more orders inside here where it was just running the high liquidity, high resistant liquidities, which is the highs and the lows, short-term highs and the lows. So you could see that price traded to this point, came to form this short-term high, came to form this short-term low. So price rallied, closed below the short-term low, and then took down the short-term high as well, all the short-term highs as well. And then it rallied down, taking down the short-term lows, up again to form another short-term high, comes down, sweep this short-term low, comes up, should sweep the short-term high. So it was just running liquidity on the highs and the lows, so which is a high resistant liquidity. Okay, and then we had the manipulation leg up here before we had the distribution to the downside. All right, so necessarily price actually traded into this area and couldn't break the high in here. So um, what happened was, as price broke down, and now use this reference point as my accumulation point, and then price had to trade back into the swing that was used, that is the distribution leg, trade back into an area where, in as much as price has taken down this liquidity resting below this with the distribution, price will rally back and look for internal liquidities, and then I seek for what's it called, seek for um, short-term highs in here, and then it's just trade of it, and then it comes back down. So now necessarily I'm seeing that now we are in a downwards trend. Okay, we are in a bearish market now, and then in a bearish market we seek for price to reach out to the premium prices before we take our trades. Okay, so if I say price should reach out to the premium prices, for instance, if this is the range, okay, from this high to this this low, okay, this is the range that we are looking at, the distribution range. Okay, now half of it, so from the top to the bottom, you realize that there's a middle point. This dot is showing us that from this point all the way to this point is representing half of the swing. Okay, half of the swing. Okay, this swing high, this swing, from this swing high to this swing low. Now if this is representing half of it, now the upper portion is called the premium prices, and then the lower portion is the discount prices. Alright, so now anytime we are in a bearish market, we want to seek that price should delve deeper into the premium prices, okay, so that we can sell at a we can offer good prices for our entries. Okay, now price traded into this point, and then it got bounced off because it had closed in on some small fair value gap resting in here. Okay, there was a small fair value gap resting in here. Okay, that price had to close in on. So you can see here within this area, price closed in on, and then boom, it came down. Now do I still see that, do I still have a premise that price can go up or trade up to this, to take down this high Is this high a long-term high or a short-term high? Well, insofar as we haven't taken this low, insofar as we've been taking this low, I still don't regard this high as my long-term high. Price can necessarily, if price breaks this high, how do we call it? Price breaks this low in here. Obviously, I'll consider that. But in as much as it hasn't, okay, there has been several attempts for price to break this low, but you could see that it has still not been able to take down this low, and price is delineating inside this area. If I had my price tags on, you would have seen how I executed some trades in here. When price took this low, I executed a trade in here and I exited somewhere inside this area. I've executed like 2 trades in here and exited on this point. Okay, so I'm still hoping for higher prices in here. I mean, the market is not an everyday win game. It's and it's not a game of chance anyway. It's risk and reward. Okay, so if you feel that your whatever is aligning with your your strategy is aligning with whatever you see on the chart, you can enter your trade and then you take it from there. Okay, so why do I have this buy trade here? I feel I've seen that there has been some form of accumulation in here. Okay, there's been some form of accumulation inside this area. So from this point, we've had some sort of accumulation in here. And what price is what price manipulated to the downside, took down this sell side liquidity before it rallied up to also take down the buy side liquidity. Now watch this, price traded down into this area, into, let's say, consider this as an order block, and then price had to rally back up. Price rallied back and didn't take the high, so I still don't see this swing as a long-term low. Okay, and funny enough, price came back to take this low, it swept this low. So now I regard this one as my long-term low. Okay, and should price can still sweep this low and I'll form another long-term low in as much as this low has not been violated. Okay, I still regard this as my long-term low. All right, so now I'm waiting patiently. So this is my first swing. So for instance, if you're in a bullish market, um the bigger picture, on the bigger picture, we can see that we are in a bearish market, but interim on a smaller time frame like this, I'm seeing some bullish movement that has to happen. Okay, so for instance, from this point all the way to this high is my first swing. So I expected another swing, I don't know whichever point, but I'm not expecting it to sweep this low. Okay, it's my next swing wherever it's gonna be. And then in a bullish market, what do we have to see? We have to see price take down this high. So I'm expecting price to, whatever it does, to come and take this high in here, resting in here, and then whatever it wants to do before it reverses. I saw on the 1 hour time frame. Okay, I'll go to that, but then it's insofar as I've taken a trade in here, I'm expecting that price shouldn't. I'll use my initial swing low as my point of call, that should price break that, I know that then obviously we have actually shifted course. Now, how do I say that we are in a bullish market inside this area? Now watch this. When there was this accumulation, after this manipulation, you could see that there was a break higher with a body, which shows that there has been a shift in structure. Okay, beautifully, this side shows you that there has been a shift in structure. So can you see the body of the candle breaking above this high in here? So we could see that on the 4 hour time frame there's been a shift in structure. So however, I'm expecting price to, whatever it does in here, to still go up and take down this high and then form our higher high in here somewhere. Okay, all right, so beautifully, that is what I can see on the volatility 25. But then let's go to 1 hour time frame and let me show you why you can see this thing hanging in here on the 1 hour time frame. And that's the reason why I actually placed that, and I told you on my page that this is what I'm expecting. Okay, on the 1 hour time frame, you can see that there's some equal high in here, equal highs in here, that I expecting price to actually try and delve deeper and sweep, because there's a buy side liquidity resting above this equal highs. And when you go down to 30 minutes time frame, you could see that the equal highs are still there. And then when I look at it on the 15 minutes time frame, you could see beautifully that the equal highs are still sitting there, and we have even more higher. When you look at it on this time frame, it's even more defined and precise. Okay, so that's what I saw, and I'm expecting price to actually delve deeper, although I can't see any fair value gap resting above around it. But then it was an expectation in a way the price could, go into that area. And then, so now, if price should do what I'm expecting it to do here by coming up, what is my premise? My premise is, if we take this high down, we have, it has already sought for sell side liquidity. It has already taken sell side liquidity for the first swing, and then taking all the internal liquidity. So I'm expecting it to come and read external liquidities, or take the highs, okay, and sweeping the highs will land us into these other fair value gaps, resting just before some of these highs, which can be a very nice order block setting, like this particular one in here. There's a fair value gap just before it, and then wherever price will go, we won't just observe. But nonetheless, price can equally go the opposite direction. Okay, as I told you, on the bigger picture, we are in a bearish market, but on this smaller time frame, I'm seeing that we can still have some bullish movement inside the bearish to into premium prices, so that we have our rally down. Okay, so now watch this particular swing from this point to this point. I actually took a trade in here, expecting it to reach into the mean threshold, and it did. So I took off my profit into the mean threshold inside this area. Okay, I wish there was if my internet disconnects and come on, you see the entries. All right. So basically, that is. Let me try and disconnect and come on. Let's see my entries. Okay. So that is all that I have to show you today. So you could see my entries beautifully. Okay, they are here. So I took this straight from here. I took off inside this fair value gap. I took off this straight from here. I took off into the mean threshold of this particular swing, and then you can see price is still pushing down. I took off another trade from here, and then I took it off here. Now this is the current entry that I entered. You can see price really not dealing well with me, but then I just entered for intrinsic, not necessarily for any other wild reason. All right, in as much as I'm expecting that if you shouldn't sweep below this. Now the retail mind will say that this is a bear flag. Okay, but I believe that there are more liquidities resting above here that price has to. All right, so until I meet you again, see you and enjoy the rest of the evening.